Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Sonar Rajpal. Students, today I am going to explain what are bases and its property. You know students, bases are the compounds which when dissolved in water they will give OH negative ions, means hydroxide ions. And generally bases are not soluble in water. And those which are soluble in water, these are called as alkali and the solution is alkaline in nature. स्टूडेंट्स जो बेसिस होते हैं वो पानी में जब उसको डिज़ोल्व करते हैं वो OH नेगेटिव आयंस देते हैं. दे आर मोस्टली नॉट सॉल्युबल, बट जो बेसिस पानी में सॉल्युबल होते हैं स्टूडेंट्स उनको हम एल्कली बोलते हैं और उस सोल्यूशन को एल्कलाइन इन नेचर. और बेसिस दो टाइप्स का होता है स्टूडेंट्स, वन इज स्ट्रॉन्ग बेसिस एंड वन इज वीक बेसिस. स्ट्रॉन्ग बेसिस क्या होता है स्टूडेंट्स? स्ट्रॉन्ग बेसिस आर दोज which dissociate completely in water to produce large number of OH negative ions. These are called strong bases. स्टूडेंट जो भी बेसिस पानी में completely break down हो जाता है और they will produce large number of OH negative ions, these are called as strong bases. And the example of the strong bases is sodium hydroxide and potassium hydroxides, and there are many strong bases existing in nature. And what are the weak bases, students? Weak bases are those compounds which can be dissociated partially in water to give less number of OH negative ions. जो पानी में break down होके less number of OH negative ions produce करते हैं, or you can say which can dissociate partially or which can dissociate to a small extent in water to give small number of OH negative ions. And the example of the weak bases is magnesium hydroxide, which is present in milk and it is also called as the milk of magnesium. And one is ammonium hydroxide, which is used to make फर्टिलाइजर्स. और स्टूडेंट्स हम अपने स्टूडेंट्स को ऐसा भी बोलते हैं वीक बेसिस वो बेसिस होते हैं विच वी कैन यूज़ फॉर लिविंग ऑर्गेनिजम्स लाइक milk. In milk that magnesium hydroxide is there, it is a weak basis because we all consumed milk. Like ammonium hydroxide, it is used to make fertilizers that is required for the growth of the plants are also living organism, so these are also weak bases. And the properties of the bases are as follows: all bases turn red litmus blue. And generally, as I told you students, bases पानी में डिज़ोल्व नहीं होते मोस्टली, पर जो बेसिस पानी में डिज़ोल्व होते हैं उनको एल्कलीज बोलते हैं, एंड दैट सोल्यूशन इज एल्कलाइन इन नेचर. And all bases they will act as electrolyte. Electrolyte means students when the base is dissolved in water they will produce ions, and these ions conduct electricity when electricity is passed through its solution. So that's why bases are also called as electrolyte, because its solution conduct electricity due to the presence of ions it produce when it will get dissolved in water. And all bases, you know students, they are bitter. B for bases, B for they are bitter in taste, and bases are always rich in electrons. That is a very important concept that will help you in your class 11 students. Student जो bases होते हैं they are always rich in electrons. That's why bases make compound with metal like element. फॉर एग्जाम्पल NaOH. जो भी बेसिस होते हैं बेटा, बिकॉज बेसिस वो होते हैं जो पानी में OH नेगेटिव आयंस देते हैं, तो जो भी बेसिस होते हैं वो किसके साथ कंपाउंड बनाते हैं स्टूडेंट्स? मेटल के साथ, बिकॉज मेटल्स आर ऑलवेज पॉजिटिवली चार्ज पार्टिकल्स लाइक मैग्नीशियम हाइड्रोक्साइड. एंड यू कैन से देर इज वन बेस विच इज अमोनियम hydroxide also. Here the ammonium is also a positively charged cations, so these OH ions can combine with this ammonium ions. Is it clear? But this ammonium ions is not a metal, but they act like metal because they are positively charged like metals. तो students जो भी bases होते हैं वो पॉजिटिवली चार्ज पार्टिकल के साथ कंबाइन करके कंपाउंड बनाते हैं. वो पॉजिटिवली चार्ज पार्टिकल मोस्टली मेटल्स होते हैं बिकॉज मेटल्स आर ऑलवेज प्रोड्यूस कैटायंस. एंड द pH of the bases are always more than 7 students, means the pH of the bases are in between 7 to 14, or you can say above 8 to 14 I have to say, because जो भी bases होते हैं स्टूडेंट्स उनका pH 7 से ज़्यादा होता है, बिकॉज जिनका भी pH 7 होता है दे आर न्यूट्रल. Is it clear? And the property of the bases is due to the OH negative ions, students, because more the OH negative ions, more is the cohesiveness. And students, both bases have a soapy touch. And these are the chemical properties of the bases. Students, when the base react with acid, it will produce a salt and water. For example, sodium hydroxide NaOH react with the hydrochloric acid, it will produce NaCl and water. स्टूडेंट यू ऑलवेज नीड टू रिमेंबर वन थिंग, बिकॉज बेसिस वो होते हैं जो पानी में OH नेगेटिव आयंस देते हैं, एंड एसिड्स वो होते हैं जो पानी में H पॉजिटिव आयंस देते हैं. एंड वेन एवर दिस H पॉजिटिव एंड OH negative ions combine, they will make water, and water is a neutral. So when the base react with acid, it is always called as neutralization reaction, or mainly when the strong base react with the strong acid, it will make water. So this is called as the neutralization reactions. And students, जो भी metal का oxides होता है, they will also act as base. It has all the basic property. That's why metal oxide, which will act like a base, when it will dissolve in water, it will produce sodium hydroxide, which is a base, and these sodium hydroxide dissociate in water to give sodium ions and OH negative ions. तो स्टूडेंट, जो भी मेटल का ऑक्साइड होगा उसका बेसिक प्रॉपर्टीज होता है, और इसको प्रूव करने के लिए हमने बताया है कि व्हेन यू पुट दिस सोडियम हाइड्रोक्साइड इन वाटर, तो वो सोडियम हाइड्रोक्साइड बनाएगा. Sodium oxide in water, it will produce sodium hydroxide, which is a base. Likewise, student, whenever you have a base, when this base react with the metal, it will always produce salt and hydrogen gases produce. For example, this sodium hydroxide, when react with the zinc metal, it will produce sodium zincate, which is a salt, and hydrogen gas is produced, and this hydrogen gas burn with the pop-up sound. And another chemical property of the base, when the base react with non-metal oxide. Student, जो भी non-metal oxides होते हैं, they will always act as an acid. For example, carbon dioxide, when react with the base, that is a calcium hydroxide, it will form calcium carbonate and water is formed. So, in conclusion, students, I want to say bases are generally insoluble in water, but water soluble bases are called alkalis, and the pH of the basic solution is always in between 8 to 14, or you can say it is more than 7. Or bases always act as electrolyte, means they conduct electricity when dissolved in water due to the production of OH negative ions. And bases are always rich in electrons, and the metal always form bases, or the positively charged particles, they will form bases. If you like my video, please subscribe my channel for more details. Science classes @ Dr. Sonar Rajpal 123. Thank you.